Welcome, lovely teachers, to another Vibrant Music Teacher Chat. This is your weekly show on YouTube with me, Nicola Canton. If we haven't met before, do say hi in the comments or in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. I'm a piano teacher over in Dublin, in Ireland, and I run a site called Vibrant Music Teaching, which is a membership site where I help you become a better teacher and have more fun while doing it. We're big on fun here, so this is a really fun show. Today we're talking about practice techniques, teaching great practice, and one particular practice technique in particular. So I'll reveal that later in the show. It's a bit of an experimental one, but I wanted to clue you guys in early on with something I'm playing around with that might end up becoming a total flop, but might end up being something I recommend more broadly or do a bit of a series based on. So that's your little teaser for what's to come. Before we get there, though, I would love for you to join me in the warm-up. So we're going to do a singing warm-up and a rhythm warm-up. And please, please, please do these at home, because that's what this is all about. And it's just you sitting there on your own or with your dog or whoever's around you. So do the warm-ups with me, get in the musical frame of mind, and let's kick things off together. Our first warm-up then is our singing one, and we do this in solfa. Now, if you want to do it in just do, that is absolutely fine. When I'm doing these with the kids or with students in general, we always say the solfa first before we sing it. Here on the show, we don't do that every week because I think a lot of you know your way around solfa, or even if you don't, you have some other method of sight singing, but it's always a great exercise to do. And I think, especially as piano teachers and maybe other instrumentalists, we often don't do enough sight singing. So we're going to try this with the fast track right away today. Let's give it a go. Okay, I hope you gave that a try. We're going to try a rhythm one next. So this one is, we have different actions for each one. So the light blue you see there, that's meant to be clap. The orange is touch your shoulders. The yellow is touch your head. The pink one is wave, but I like to say with students, I'd like to say it's basically like a chop when it's a shorter note, like a karate chop. And that's all we need for this one. Okay. So we're going to go straight in with the fast track again today. We don't always do that. Sometimes I do more of a teaching approach on the show, and sometimes we just jump right in. So today is a jump right in kind of day. Let's give it a go. Sorry. Okay, I hope you had fun with that. Even if you got yourself in a bit of a tangle, I hope you enjoyed it all the same. Let me know how it went in the comments. So, practice. Practice, practice, practice. We talk about it a lot, but that's because it's super important, right? So a little while ago, I did a presentation for Vibrant Music Teaching members that was about 10 different stages of practice proficiency. And recently I've been having some thoughts about one of those stages. But first I just want to introduce you to those 10 stages in case you need a refresher or you haven't met them before. If you do have questions throughout, please feel free to add them into the comments so I can come back to them. So 10 stages of practice proficiency. The idea for this was to lay out a sort of pathway of how students go from being beginners, who don't know anything about practicing an instrument, to really being people who are self-directed practicers, right? That's sort of our goal. And that's what we call proficiency. And I think in the beginning of my teaching, I didn't break this down enough. I just sort of almost tried to hammer home all of the elements we're talking about today. But over time, I've come to see this as a bit of a pathway. So the first step for me with practice for my students is to build a practice habit. That is all I want in the beginning. And when I say it's all I want, I literally mean everything. When my students first start with me, I tell them and their parents, look, you have to fit in practice into your day every day, or at least 5 days a week. I don't care how long it takes. Encourage your kid to play through the assignments inside the practice app or the ones that are tagged in their book, whatever system you're using. Encourage them to use that. But if they only do one thing one day, if it only takes 1 minute, that is better to me than them breaking the habit. So I put the habit above everything else in the beginning. And then hopefully 3 months in, they're starting to get a pretty reliable habit if I've got their parents on board with that. Then stage 2 is repetition. This is where they start thinking about just playing things more than once. Okay, so they have that habit. Now they need to get through all of their assignments and play them more than once. Okay, so it sounds like a very basic step, but I do think that's a separate step on the journey. Then we have focused repetitions for stage 3. This is where they might be honing in on a specific part of the piece, or even playing the whole thing, but with a specific goal. They're repeating it, but thinking about the dynamics, or thinking about the rhythm, or singing along. Something else is happening. It's not just, I'll play it 3 times from start to finish, and that's the end. Then we have variety in stage 4. So this is where they're trying different things in their practice. Maybe they're using some of our practice games. Maybe sometimes they sing instead of playing. Maybe sometimes they tap out the piece. And these could be prescribed things from the teacher, or could it be that we just give them a mixed bag of things that they're able to explore? Then we have what I call limited diagnosis. So diagnosis based on the fact that I often talk about a practice doctor or practice physician. So a limited diagnosis means the student can say, okay, my piece is too slow. So I'm going to use this tool, a metronome, to work on speeding it up. Or my piece is really uneven because I'm slowing down in the middle part for this bar. So I'm going to take that bar and work on just that. So they're starting to think more strategically, but within a limited view of what goes into a piece. In stage 6, they're talking about wider diagnoses. So just a broader list of different strategies they can apply in different scenarios of things they need to work on in their pieces. Stage 7 then, we're talking about standard learning strategies. So this is where a student isn't just diagnosing a problem after the fact or as they go through after the things have already started happening. They're really starting to think about, how would I best approach this piece, with a few basic strategies to learning them. Number 8 then is teacher-assisted strategies, so a little bit more in depth, but the teacher's helping and guiding the student to figure out which one is appropriate. Number 9 then, self-design strategies, so they're really starting to come up with their own ways of practicing. And number 10 is what we're calling proficiency, where they're very self-directed, they're figuring out themselves, coming up with plans, and, being dream students. Okay, so let me know if this pathway makes sense to you. This is something I laid out a while ago, and I still do agree with it. The thing that I've been coming to recently is that I, as a teacher, and our studio more broadly, have maybe been missing or not putting enough emphasis on stage 2, which we'll remember was repetition. I don't think our students are getting early enough in their journey and enough emphasis, or they're not getting the importance, I guess, early on enough or in general, of just repeating things. So, do you think this is a problem with your students? Because that's the feeling I've been getting lately from my students, is this is the area I need to improve upon right now. My students need to get that they have to repeat stuff. It sounds so basic, but a lot of them, not just they need to get it, but I need to be consistent about making sure every student gets it. That's really what I'm after here. And that everyone gets it, a semester or so into their lesson, that they really get this lands, this goes home with them, that they get, I need to repeat things a bunch of times. And the reason I put emphasis on it that way is because beginner pieces, they often are only a page or two. So repeating the whole thing can actually get you pretty far, and it builds this foundation for what happens later, where we have to repeat certain sections or whatever, certain techniques, etc. But everything really does come back to repetition. Now, not mindless repetition 30 times in a row, but we have to repeat stuff. We have to get enough reps in to build that muscle or that skill. So, let me let you in on my little experiment that I've been doing lately, and you can tell me what you think about it. I'm trying this just with a couple of students, and I'm going to see how we go with it. And then maybe it's something I bring in more broadly, or maybe it evolves. Basic strategy to get my students to start to focus on repetition is stickers. So, nothing revolutionary in that. But I'm getting the student to apply these themselves. So, and you may already do this. I'm not saying I totally made this up. But we get a sticker sheet like this, which is tiny little stickers. They're really small. If you look at my finger on one, it can cover it, right? So it's a really small one. So you can get like those little smiley faces. You could get just the colored dots. I'm talking about those small ones. So I'm still reserving the big ones for teacher says you pass this piece. But what we're doing with that, I'm just going to show you. I had a Masterwork Classics book here, so I'm going to show you based on that. Let's say my student was currently learning Hunting Horns and the Echo over here. I put this on the opposite page, okay? It's just a paper clip and a set of stickers. And I just asked them, the first week I gave this idea to them, I just asked them, okay, every time you play this through once, anytime you play it through once, I want you to put one sticker somewhere at the top of the piece here. Okay, so it's incredibly simple, I know. But we do that this first week. And then they come back, and guess how many stickers they have on it? A student who I know practices, like their parent holds them to their practice routine. I'm sure you can guess. It's 5! Because I think I've talked to them enough about repetition. I think I've communicated that to their parents, and the parents are very involved, and all the things seem to be in place. They haven't really twigged it. And I think this gives this physical manifestation of how many times are you actually getting through the piece? And is it enough? And when they come back with 5, I say, okay, that's great. It looks like you practice every day. Now, every day you practice, you should be playing at least, let's say, 3 times. So next week when you come back, I'm expecting to see 15 more stickers on this page. And that 15 makes their eyes go wide if they've only been playing their pieces once a day. But it just clearly lands. And they get, okay, she's really expecting me to play this a lot of times. And I know 3 times a day isn't even that much, right? But that's a starting point. So 15 in a week is a good start. And we can start to expand it from there. Or maybe this exercise will be enough that I can tell they're now repeating all their pieces enough times and we're sort of good to go. We don't need the sticker system. I'm not sure. As I said, this is an experiment. So let me know what you think about it. Now, I know some of you are going to say, won't some of the students just put a bunch of stickers on the piece? And yeah, they might. You know, kids do test boundaries. And that's fine. I'd say most of my students won't. I think a lot of teachers think more students are going to cheat than do. And I think as long as you don't give any kind of prize that is not connected to just learning the piece, you know, as long as you don't give out chocolates or big stickers for just getting 15 done or anything, trinkets, you know, I don't think there's much motivation to cheat. And if they do, if they come back with 20 stickers on the piece and they cannot play it at all, I would just have a simple conversation with them and say, okay, listen, I'm just going to try and unpack what's happening here. Because this piece looks like it's still pretty tricky to get through. So, is it that it's really tricky? Is it that maybe you didn't do it as many times as this, or you misunderstood the sticker system? So give them a little out if they're lying, because they don't want to feel like they're lying. So if they say, if you give them that option of I didn't understand the system, fine, I won't call them out on it if they say that's what it is, because obviously they didn't understand the system. It's really simple. Or is it something else that's going on? And you might find that they really did play it 20 times and they find it really challenging. If you think they're lying and saying, yes, I did, but it's really challenging, then just practicing it together, seeing how much progress you can make by playing it 3 times together, like working on it 3 times together. And say, okay, well, that's come a long way. So can you do that every time you practice this week? We'll see where we get to. They probably won't lie again. And it'll probably be over. Look, Pam, this is an experiment. We're trying it with a few students. So I'll tell you their ages. One of our little guinea pigs is 9. One is 11. And another is 10. And another, there's just one more, is 6. Okay? Those are the ones we're trying it on right now. With something like this, where it's not like tried and tested, and it's not something I'm ready to like publish a VMT or anything. Not that I'd be publishing stickers, but you get what I'm saying. We will just test it in little sprinkles like that and see how it goes, because we want to make sure there's no, it's not going to be a disastrous effect either way, but we don't want to roll something out to everyone and then find that it does backfire in some other way, that when we take the stickers away, they no longer practice at all or something. But I think because it's such a low incentive and we're not really placing any value on those stickers, we're not saying every 5 stickers on your piece equals a gold coin. We're just saying, hey, put a sticker on your piece every time you play it. The end. I don't think it's going to have a pitfall. But yeah, those are my little test subjects. Mary, I also have some students who play it wrong 3 times instead of thinking about whether they've played it the way we did at lessons, even though I also sent home a video of them playing it properly. Okay, so that's a different issue, isn't it? It's not that they don't want to or don't get that they're supposed to repeat things. It's that they're not invested in how it should sound. So that's what I would look at addressing, Mary. Why? Do they not think the piece sounds cool? Or are they a student who just is really ungritty and can't stick to something when it feels hard, in which case more practice in the lesson is usually the way to do that, or more practice steps suggested at home. So it's that they do this first, then this, and it breaks down the steps and makes it easier. Does that make sense? That is what I think about there, because I have had students like that occasionally who don't seem to care what it sounds like. And that is a separate issue to me that you need to address. It's not even a practice issue. It's a caring about music issue. So more listening, more making sure they love the sound of their pieces. Yeah, along those lines. Okay, yeah, I think we're moving into questions now, so I'm going to switch over to our Ask Me Anything section, just so you can see my funny camera as well. Keep your questions coming in. Okay, I just felt magical today. I just felt like being in a magical wonderland, so this is the one I went with. Let me come back to all the questions and do type yours in if you have one, and I'll do the drawing after we do a few of these. So Rachel asked, what's the difference between number 7 and number 8? So number 7 I sometimes call limited learning strategies, meaning there's just a few, and it's sort of the teacher's, you could almost call it teacher dictated versus teacher assisted. Let's say that. The teacher is saying, okay, your piece is too fast, so now you need to do this. And then they go and do that based on the feedback, right? Whereas in number 8, they're having some input into that. It's teacher assisted. The teacher is nudging them, but not saying, this is the problem, here's how you fix it. Teresa asked, would you also use this for specific parts, harder sections? What happens when they practice 5 times a day incorrectly? 2 separate questions there. No, I'm not doing this for specific parts at all, because this is a strategy for beginners. That's all I'm really talking about here, is pieces that you can play start to finish. And students who are in that stage 2 of that roadmap I laid out, where all we're focused on is repetition. It's not even focused repetition. It's not focused on specific parts yet. We're just in the beginning stages of, they have a habit, Now they need to repeat their pieces. The next stage will be focused repetition. But this is just overcoming that hurdle of repeating things at all. And what happens when they practice 5 times a day incorrectly? Well, my goal is that they go home always being able, in the beginning stage, later on they can be more challenged, but in these beginning stages, they should be able to play things correctly. After having left the lesson, like they should be pretty competent at doing that. Sure, they might play it a little bit wrong in the rhythm in one part. So it depends what you mean by incorrectly, but up to the standard of what I'm expecting, they should be able to do that pretty much no problem when they leave the lesson. It's just about really embedding that knowledge at home in those beginning, like this is in the first year of study. Okay, Rachel. I'm sure this makes a lot of people sigh. How do you deal with students whose long fingernails are getting in the way of good technique? Okay, look, the first thing I do is check how attached they are to their long fingernails. So, if I see a student, let's start here. If I have a student who I've had for a while and they start growing their fingernails out a bit, I say to them, hey, it's really better. Like I address it right there and say, I noticed those are getting a bit long. Could you trim those for next week? However, if you have those students who arrive after a teaching break and suddenly they have really long nails or acrylic nails applied and they are a teenager, I just lay it all out for them. I say, look, those are seriously going to get in the way of your piano playing. If you're extremely attached to them, you just cannot have them for exams and concerts and for like a month before each of those events. I'm not going to say you can't have them the rest of the time if you're very attached to them, but I'm going to say they're not recommended and they are getting in your way. So I just literally spell it all out, treat them like an adult in that way and let them make the call. And if they really love those long fingernails, which a couple of my students persist with them. No, there's only one right now. It's just really important. It's her way of expressing herself, So I don't force the issue. She's 16, What can I do? I hope that's somewhat helpful, Rachel. Mary, I want to share backing tracks for scales, etc. so my students can practice with them at home. Best way to do that. Okay, right now I use a practice app. It's called Tonara, Tonara. There are many other practice apps as well, but that's only if you want to go all out and make your students' assignments all digital, etc. If you don't want to do any of that, I would have a shared Google Drive or Dropbox folder with those tracks and either share it with all your studio families or just the relevant ones as they come up. So Google Drive, Dropbox, another file sharing service like that. Yeah, hope that helps. If you are talking about the backing tracks from VMT, Mary, there are Vimeo links, so you can just share the Vimeo showcase, which is like the video version, has the backing tracks included, and they can see me playing as well. So that's another option. Oh, is it? Well, if it is, yeah, we will. I'll see if there's another option out there that works on computer. Most of these things are just for mobile, so we might lose the fun. I'll have to have some like fun little visitors instead or something. Okay. I think that's all my questions for now. If you've any more, add them in and I'll come back to them after we do our prize drawing. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to scroll randomly up and down and look at the ceiling so I can't see. And do. Pam! Pam, are you still here? If you are, you have won a prize. So just give me a hi or a yep or a woohoo in the comments if you're still here. And I'm going to pull up our prize wheel. Yes, I see yes from Pam. Awesome. Oh, that is not the app I want. Hang on 1 second. Accidentally opened Music Lock instead of Decide Now. There it is. I'm blind. Okay, here we go. Okay, Pam, you have won our calendar template. Here's what you need to do. You just need to email us. So that is support@vibrantmusicteaching.com. I'm typing it into the chat right now. support@vibrantmusicteaching.com. Just email us there. Let us know you won the calendar template. If you already have that, we can swap it out for something else. So just let us know your detail thing there. Jen, that is so true. So true. The habit thing is the foundation. And I had focused so much on that and on some of the later stages that I just hadn't got a solid enough strategy for the repetition piece. So yeah, just I agree with you wholeheartedly. If you haven't got the habit thing in place, I would start by fixing that. Once you have that sorted, then you need to fix the repetition thing like I do right now. Okay, before I go, I'm going to go back to my regular camera actually, because I wanted to show you guys something that arrived yesterday. Okay, this is our first ever concept collection, and it is launching on February 1st, so it's just a couple of weeks. And it is beautiful. Can you see how beautiful it is? I'm so excited about this. So these are limited edition collections with 5 composers in this one, and each composer writes 2 pieces, and all of them have 6 flats. So they're all in the key of G flat minor, G flat major, E flat minor, and they're all gorgeous also. That wasn't written on the cover, that's just a given because they're such beautiful composers. So yeah, just all beautiful pieces. These are launching on February 1st. And the hard copies, these guys, will be available for anyone to purchase. And VMT members get a discount because they're in the Colourful Keys store. So you always get a discount there. And VMT members are also going to get a digital copy, which is a studio license. Oh my gosh, what a great deal. So that is launching on February 1st. It is limited edition, so it's only live for 2 months, both the hard copy sales and the digital editions inside Vibrant Music Teaching. Only live for 2 months. So just, as soon as it does launch, download it if you're a VMT member and save it somewhere safe, because we're not going to be able to give it to you later. And if you want a hard copy, which I much prefer purchasing hard copies, despite being such a digital person. I just like real books, so this would be what I'd be buying, even though the digital license is handy to have there as a member, because then you can have that as like your teacher copy. That's what I would do. I'd have that on my iPad, and then I'd buy these for my students I want to use them with, because they're so beautiful. I mean, look at this. And just a little bonus, the paper inside it's a lovely quality paper, but it is also recycled, which is an extra little bonus. So, hope you love them. Hope you're as excited as I am for them to finally launch. For those of you taking part in the challenge this week, keep up the amazing work. Keep going through your workbook. You're doing awesome. And I will see you all back here next week.